Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. We are here after the end of the URC regular season. There are 8 teams left. We can say goodbye to 8 teams. We have 3 South African teams, 3 Irish teams, one Scottish, and even one Welsh team in the quarterfinals of the URC. We're going to break down the final round of the URC, all the shenanigans with the race for 8. Ulster unfortunately falling out after pretty much being the top 4 for a lot of the season. Cardiff getting a great win against the Stormers, Munster good win against the Lions, the Bulls and the Sharks doing the business at home. And Cooks, you're here with me today. We're going to break down some URC. We're going to talk also some Champions Cup preview as well. But I mean, yeah, I had 3 out of 4 South African teams. I remember we did that halfway mark and we
Yeah.
were sort of debating if it was going to be 2 or 3. I think, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised it's 3.
Yeah. Hi, Tyler. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. Yeah, I think at the stage you're looking at two. I mean, then obviously the Lions were an incredible run. Yeah, gutted about them on their tour. But yeah, three from four you would take. I mean, had a chance to make it four from four, but then obviously the Sharks sort of kind of fell on the wayside. But I think we'll take three from four. I think the frustrating thing is that like if we really going to spoil ourselves, I think it's obviously one of the Stormers to be in the mix for top two place, especially number one,
Yeah.
and obviously the Bulls obviously pushing where they are. I think, but in the Lions, I think obviously listen, it is great to see them in the quarterfinals. It's never a fun way to finish the season when you're going to go to Leinster and Munster to wrap up your season, but I think it's been a great story for them in between. I think obviously they'll be kicking themselves off the Munster game. I mean, there's so many chances to win that game.
Hmm.
I think that's probably the frustrating thing for the Lions fans. But yeah, Tyler, I think every season, if you can say three from four every year, I think I'll take that every year. 75% of our sides in, you'll be happy with that. And yeah, I mean, you never know. Tyler. Let's do the thing again with the cards fall made. Maybe the top three sides fall out and we find ourselves another final in South Africa. But yeah, very happy to have three from four.
Yeah, it's been known to happen, of course. We've had a few times where the South African sides are able to conspire to find themselves in the final. So let's go through the games. We can do it chronologically. We'll start with the Stormers on Friday. So yeah, obviously we didn't unfortunately we didn't have a chance to record last week. So the Stormers come on tour. They're facing 2 teams in contention for the playoffs. They know they were on top of the log. They had to try and match or beat obviously the results that Glasgow and Leinster had. And for them, luckily, Glasgow and Leinster weren't also taking all the points that they needed. But yeah, the Storms kind of fell flat. I mean, they got 3 points against Ulster. That was good at least to get the draw and to get a bonus, a 4-try bonus point. But against Cardiff, they started well. And from at least everything that I saw and read, like once Cardiff could sort of get a bit of control on the scrum and sort of come up a bit physically, Cardiff just looked like the team with more ideas and just able to break them down.
I think, I mean, the key thing for me, the last two games with the Stormers, the amount of times they were caught out wide as well. I mean, like, Van
Mm.
Patrick against Ulster, and then, Carter got a few little slick moves out wide, and then like, a few of the sort of the defenders of the Stormers out wide just being caught out. And that is frustrating. I think, Cardiff, obviously, it kind of felt like a game. I mean, they were desperate to win it as well. Obviously, they wanted to make sure they're in the quarters. And for the Stormers, I think there's definitely an opportunity missed. I think that's the big one to look at the overall big picture with that draw, and then with obviously the loss to Cardiff. I mean, they win those two games, they find themselves finishing first, and all the roads to the players go through Cape Town. Um, yeah, I think the weekend. I think we saw some of the early on the best parts of the Stormers and the worst part of the Stormers. I think that's been for me the frustrating thing on this tour. Again, it's the lapses. I mean, it feels like lapses in concentration. Where sometimes tell like
Yeah.
Stormers, like you can watch them on a 10-minute period, and they look by far the best team in the competition. And then you see them for another 20-minute period. You're like, what on earth is going on here? And sometimes I feel like they sort of a team playing two different, like I don't know which brand to play. Are we going to be ultra kicking, or are we going to be are we going to be the Akuf Troop or the Razzle Dazzle Stormers? Are sort of that's what sometimes they almost find themselves be like trying to do the best of both worlds in a game where sometimes they kick the ball too much and sometimes they're too razzle dazzle. But I think for them, Friday is definitely a big opportunity lost. And for me, that game, obviously we saw the best like Kunu, obviously there's also positive the Storm is like, I love the way that he's sort of come across. He was coming
Yeah.
was, but I just think that they just allowed Cardiff to get into the game, and I think the problem is then the crowd sort of got into it, and also I think the big thing for Cardiff is that they took their chances, and they took them very well, as opposed to Stormers who didn't, and we had chances and sort of. There's quite a few, even like, we didn't put last week, even the Ulster game, yes, I mean, they scored, what, 30, 36 points and 38 points, I think there were still
Mm.
chances there they missed as well in that game and chances to actually really grab control of the game. I think that's for me, if you're a Stormers fan, that's the frustrating part where there's times in both games where they're in control and then allow the side to get back into them and then obviously Cardiff and also able to take their chances. But like it just, yeah. Tell them when the year started, I think obviously in Feb when the URC kind of got back and you told me that the Stormers would finish third, I think it will be the last thing you imagine after that hot start they had.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, their first 9 games or first 8 games, they're unbeaten. The last 10 games, they win 4 and draw 1. Like they've just been literally average. The second half of the season.
Which is funny
It's so
because
weird because
it's
yeah,
anti-Stormers in the URC because normally flip the other way around. They normally their sides the SA sides that tend to finish really well and make that
yeah,
push into the in players and go into the players with momentum. I think what's the age old say. I mean the age old saying with the Stormers, this break now the Champions Cup finals probably coming at a good time for them. I'd probably worry
mm,
if they're playing next weekend as well. I think it's coming a good time. And listen, it's still going to be hard for a side to go down there and win a quarterfinal in Cape Town. It's just obviously you kind of they're kind of hoping they get a miracle, and then either Glasgow or Leinster sort of loses a semi-final. If the Lions, I think the Lions are playing Leinster. You're sort of hoping that they've got a bit of a Champions Cup high. If Bordeaux does manage to do something against them, so that's what you're kind of hoping for. But yeah, tell like you're right. I mean, that's for me. That's been the part of so been weird because Stormers tend to sort of. I thought when they had that little speed bump, and then it looked like they were getting back to it, just the end of the home leg at home. And I thought, they set up so nicely to go to
mm,
to go to Ulster, go to Cardiff sides that I think Stormers that do play well, they'll back themselves to win even away from home. I thought they were set up so nicely, and it's just so weird for me to think of Stormers to finish like this where they've drawn one and lost one.
yeah. Yeah, and I think the main thing that I'm taking out of this season, sort of on a bigger picture, is that I don't think there's a weakness, like a clear weakness in the Stormers. Like most things are either above average or really good. Like when you look at it from a season-long stats, like for really good attack, I think they're only like third in points, I think to the Bulls and the Lions, if I'm not mistaken. Their defense is also like in the top 3 or 4 in terms of tries conceded. Scrum has been really good. Leinart has had its shaky moments, but it's been mostly consistent. And when Sasha and Willemse decide to kick, they can kick with the best of all of them and kick 30, 40 times in a game. And they can obviously create opportunities. But yeah, I mean, I think the issue is with the attack, it does tend to become individualistic. And it's the thing we've been saying for about 2 to 3 seasons now. Like, especially obviously with all the talent that they have, they can sort of go on their own and not really maybe trust whatever system or process that they're supposed to put on to create something. And then defensively, Ron now makes such a big difference to that team. Like, just his organization just makes the team a lot better. And when he's not there, you miss him. And, you're struggling with a calf injury. I think they also didn't want to play him in the 4G pitches in Europe as well, because they had 2 4G pitches in a row. So, yeah, you just kind of, and that I think answers your question about probably all the defensive issues out wide. Weird seasons for some of the players. Like, I think Paul de Villiers, obviously, when the Storms were great, he was looking like he might play in the Springboks tomorrow. And I mean, obviously, he's young, so the form is going to tail off a little bit. And he just hasn't necessarily been at the same standard. And I think almost, I don't know if he got tired. I was kind of thinking, when Deon Fury was still fit, like that, it almost ruined his consistency that Deon was starting some of the games. And then he went a bit like down. But now, obviously, he's the going to be the first choice for the playoffs. Um, I mean, Yeah, it's weird. I don't even think the Springboks interrupted them. Like there were games with Sash and Willemse and the team looked great, and then they just are games where they just look very average. And Shame Zas has not had a great season, and Stormers are just struggling with options at wing. I mean, they've obviously tried Willemse, they've tried Similani, Hotzenberg hasn't necessarily looked as good as he did a few seasons back. So there's a lot more questions. Like
Injuries as well.
literally,
And
if we
injuries.
did,
You mentioned like, and also injuries as well.
and injuries.
Like, look at Hartenberg, obviously, like he was out for a bit and he comes back, and then like injury has
Yeah.
also hasn't helped them as well. But I think you are right. I think they're on the head. Like you tell you right. I mean, like I just don't know what Stormers I'm going to get week to week. That's I think especially this year.
Mm-mm.
That's a frustrating thing for as Stormers fans is you just don't know what you're going to get from these guys week to week.
Yeah. And it's so weird because at the start of the season, we were like, oh, this is a really good squad. Like, everyone's playing quite well. They seem to have options. They seem to be built for a long run. I think we were even saying, like, I mean, they could do like a quarterfinal, maybe semi-final run in the Champions Cup. And obviously, those things haven't happened. And yeah, I think there's a lot also that's just looking like, geez, Cooks, I know you're Team Dobbo, you're always Team Dobbo, but you know, it's one of two things I think with this team in terms of their consistency. Either, you know, he's like the plan is not being communicated well enough to the players, or well, either there's no real plan, in terms of like some, especially with the attack, or there is a plan and the players aren't quite sticking to it or not being disciplined with it, which obviously reflects on him as well. And it's now been a good part of two and a bit seasons of this. Like, let's minus the half season when it was great this season. So yeah, there's a lot of questions, and yeah, I mean these can all be forgotten if they win the next three matches. But if the Stormers, either they lose to Cardiff at home or Leinster gives them a bit of a thrashing in Dublin the next week, like it's just going to be like, okay, where is this team going? Is this Project 2029 like a reality or not?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it is harsh questions that ask themselves. I think obviously they do take themselves, they are one of the sides who've been in the knockouts every URC season, obviously having won it and gone to a final. Um, and they probably consider themselves as one of the premier sides in the URC, which they probably are.
Mm.
See, for me, the Stormers, like you said, and the other way I see it is that I can see the Stormers winning on the weekend. Winning, sorry, the quarterfinal, and then going to a Leinster and getting a win, and then winning the final. Like I can't
Yeah,
see that.
possible.
Like that's the thing. The highs are high with them, but the lows, geez, that can hurt you. And you find yourselves going like you just get. I think that's the problem. You get frustrated because you know how good they can be. I think that's the sort of frustration. I think for me, I think this year what has probably hurt them more has been the injuries as well. I think there's been also a lot of rotation in the sides and key positions. I think they
Mm.
haven't been able to nail down a starting 12. So Zamix is Willemse, then it's Jonathan Roche, and then Niall is playing there. And then, like I think that's also been symbolizing in a 13, and then Williams is playing on the wing. And I think that, and like fullbacks be interchanging. I think for me it's like the Storm is so weird because like it just kind of feels like they've not been able to say it's hard to say you pick a consistent Stormer staff. Dan du Plessis has been in and out with injuries, so I think
Mm.
and it's hurt them more this year. Like you said, it did feel like they had a crisis on the wing at a stage, and so for me, that's also been tough. If you lose Kobus Reinach, I mean, I do like Imad Khan a lot. But on a game like that on the weekend, you probably think is the experience of a Reinach now, like a game against Cardiff would be
Yeah, or maybe start Ungra even.
for some situations like that. That's the hard part. I think a lot of someone like Khan obviously has got to experience will come in because he was very good against Ulster, and then now you got to go
Mm.
for games like against Cardiff. Like unfortunately, you need time in the saddle in games like that. So for me, I'm just hoping that they get that rest now and then set themselves up, obviously for the quarterfinal at home. And I think if they can get back to the because the elements in the game that is still good. It's just that 20-minute period where they just for me it's also like and also just putting teams to the sword again. I think that's something it feels like we
Mm.
haven't seen for a while, which has been really good. Like that Ulster game, like it still drives me crazy because those patches there, they were just like, how is Ulster still in this game?
Yeah.
Like you'd feel like the Stormers are like should be up by 40, 50 points, and then 5 minutes you blink, of mayhem, bang, 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 Van over the corner twice. Like, okay, now it's Humdinger again. And then you're thinking like, oh no, like so it's all these things that for me that's frustrating with the Stormers. Like it's yeah, I know, like it's I just know that for me they're still one of the best sides in the competition. I just hope that for the next 3 weeks, this is the Stormers we get. I mean, like I'm not gonna go into a Bulls
Yeah.
now. Like for me, like the differences with Bulls and the Stormers, the Bulls kind of found who they are.
Mm.
And they seem like to find that purple form in the right time. Like I would hate to play the Bulls now, especially in Loftus. Like it feels like you're playing the Bulls now. Just know you're getting 40 points. Like if you're playing against the Bulls,
Yeah.
just know like, okay, in order for me to beat the Bulls, I might have to beat them 42, 40. If I'm beating Loftus, I might have to win the game 44, 42. Because the Bulls at the
Yeah.
moment, like the backs are cooking. Everyone is cooking at the moment, and at the right time. Where the Stormers is like it just feels like the things you need in the players, the control and stuff, it's sort of fading at the worst possible time. Which is, I think for Dobbo, I think it's going to be frustrating. I think for me, it's a perfect time to sort of ask those questions, Tyler, because what happens at the end now? Where's this team going? I
Mm.
think with the age profile as well. Um, and I think again, the thing is, the questions haven't been asked because they've been winning so much. And now we're sort of you got a situation now where you go like, do you take the first half or the second half? You take the what's it 8 from 9, or you take the side that's gone 4 wins in the last 10 games. Like that's sort of
Yeah.
like like so the Stormers like I think it's a like which team are we?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, on the other hand, the Stormers do end with the top point scorer in the league. So Sasha Ngomazulu wins that. Evan Ross is the top try scorer. So, you obviously can clearly see like some of the good things there. I mean, even Evan Ross has been also a bit of a strange season. Like at some moments just looks almost unplayable. And he's also like kind of faded throughout the season in a way. But you can see like he's trying to be that person that's, trying to keep momentum in these games. But yeah, it's just not quite like all coming together. And then maybe one more thing in terms of Cardiff is just a big shout out to their loose trio. They seem to have a really good game. I mean, Dane Basham was player of the match, but Dan Thomas got himself 3 turnovers. James Botham was just hardworking. Like, this Cardiff team, I don't think they have the most like national team players for the Welsh team right now, or at least starting players, but they've obviously built something really good and are able to get their consistency. I mean, we don't even have to talk about all the drama that's been happening in Wales this season. Them just getting to the playoffs is a good achievement. And, they had to just kind of hold on because they had a lot of their harder games at the end of the season. So they had the South African tour, then a lot of the playoff teams, and they were able to get enough points just to come through. And I mean, yeah, they probably are wishing it wasn't the Stormers. They actually maybe would have wanted to sort of do a bit of a sneak attack on the Bulls rather. But yeah, they should obviously feel relatively confident that, we beat them just now. Like we can at least give ourselves a good chance of being the Stormers. And look, the Stormers love to play down to the opposition. So if they think you're a bit weaker, the Stormers are going to keep you in the game for as long as possible.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, it was a great story for Cardiff. I mean, also, I thought they played really well. I mean, like I said, rose the occasion when they needed to. I mean, obviously needed that win. I mean, the way, obviously, like I did not see. I really thought that maybe Ulster would sneak in ahead of them with the Stormers winning that game. But
Mm,
like I thought for Cardiff, you are right. I mean, like just busy and nuggety, and like the loosies were good, decent scrum, but also it's just like well coached enough to sort of offer something on attack as well. So yeah, I think they're catching the Stormers. They could catch a bit of a revenge Stormers and an angry Stormers, and
mm.
they like I think that's probably they worry. But you never know, Tyler. Cape Town in June. I mean, they could either catch it there as in rain, or for all we know, there's dirt bikes. It's Cape Town Marathon this weekend, so the stadium could be like the fields on messed up. Like, Cape Town feels rocks for the Stormers. Tyler. Monster trucks and a marathon there in the stadium, but the Stormers are like now the field's messed up and like now Cardiff's like, oh well, guess what? Like we got a 4G pitch, but like now this basically plays into our hands because now it's a scruffy game. You know what I mean? Like it's just like Cape Town and unconducive to the Stormers conditions of trying to win rugby matches. So, but no, it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, look, if anyone saw last week, if you're listening from like outside South Africa, there was big rain in Cape Town last week. Like Newlands, the cricket stadium was pretty much looked like a swimming pool. So I could imagine if there's like some sort of monster truck rally that we have the worst rain in like a week, and then the Stormers are playing in the worst conditions ever in that quarterfinal. But yeah, at least we have, well, good news that there are two South African quarterfinals. We'll see, hopefully, if maybe we can have one more match in South Africa afterwards. Just quickly, Cooks. I mean, Ulster were the big losers of those three Friday night games because they also needed to win against Glasgow in order to come through, and they were leading quite late, and Glasgow were able to steal it. I mean, yeah, I kind of think Ulster are a victim of Andy Farrell discovering that Ulster's an island, and a lot of their key players having like big parts in the Six Nations. Obviously, Balogun gets injured. They've had like I think Ezra has been a bit in and out. They've had a big injury crisis, regardless of that. And I mean, obviously they have the Challenge Cup run, and they could still qualify for the URC. I mean, for the Champions Cup through winning the Challenge Cup. But if Andy Farrell ignores them again, I think Ulster's win is in the top four easily.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, it didn't help that Balogun and McCloskey decided to like we actually going to show people we like how good we actually are. We're not just here to hold up numbers. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Ulster. I think yeah, I think the frustrating thing is that obviously I think for them also they never didn't like roll away as well, just be like, oh, you know what, we got we got the Challenge Cup in our back pocket. They still had a proper crack at it, which is great. And I think
Mm,
obviously like had chances to win late to win. I think now obviously it does help for them that they've got that second crack over winning the Challenge Cup, and I think they'll definitely fancy themselves to win the Challenge Cup. Hopefully, they get a few players back, but. Yeah, Tyler, I think the injury crust, I think, I mean, also probably feeling the after effects. And I think it's the first time they've had this many internationals being active, doing well for Ireland, and now feeling what some sides feel. You get an injury here and then, and then like they don't have the depth that Leinster has. They can't afford to lose, four
yeah,
players. It does make a difference in their season because they also started off really, really, really well. And now they obviously find themselves down. I think it's obviously a tough way to end with the Stormers and Glasgow 1 and 2. And probably for them, they still probably thinking, geez, we could have stolen something at Glasgow. But yeah, they get another crack next week. And I mean, in the Challenge Cup final, and I can see them winning it as well.
yeah. Connacht getting a bonus point win against Edinburgh. I think they did the opposite of the Stormers. I think their last eight games, they won seven. So obviously, like just a real good run from them. They obviously got that big win in Cape Town that, yeah, I think was pretty much the difference between them and Ulster
So
ultimately.
like,
So
don't anger like Stormers fans. Like you look there like it's a Connacht loss. But shame. Like I mean obviously we talk about the loss the Stormers were having obviously with their manager Chippy passing away. And it's like I ever say to Shark like bro, that Stormers game they either win this game at 50 points or they're losing. The emotions are it's a hard
all over.
time and try to play rugby. But there are those
Yeah,
games with the Stormers where they look back and they go, "Geez, you kidding me?" Like and the worst part is like. It's 60 points, 60, 65. There's
yeah,
lots in there, like, yeah, but from Connacht, I mean, what a story. Getting them back in there, finding form the right time. Bandiaki's playing like, I mean, this, like, since he came back from, that guy was his jersey back, he wants it back now.
yeah. Look, yeah, I mean that Leicester Connacht game, especially obviously Leinster coming from the Champions Cup final. There's something there. Like, I don't know if Connacht can do it. I mean, obviously going to beat them in Dublin. I'm sure, the IRFU is going to intervene. But
Is Connacht
I,
not playing Glasgow? Isn't it 1 versus 8?
sorry. Connacht's playing Glasgow. Lions are going to Leinster. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I have less hope on Connacht beating Glasgow, unfortunately. I was going to say with the Ulster Glasgow thing. I mean, Glasgow also have had a few injuries and in and out, so I don't think they've had their full strength 15 all through. But from what I see in the news, I think the likes of Dodge and Matt Ferguson, Scott Cummings should be back for the playoff run. So if it's sort of full strength, Glasgow, yeah, it's going to be scary hours. Like, that them and Leinster obviously are looking at each other, possibly meeting each other in a final. So that would be a crazy game if it happens. So yeah, that's I don't yeah, I'd almost prefer being in the Leicester side of the draw than the Glasgow side of the draw right now. So we'll see what happens. Let's go to Loftus. We'll come back to the Sharks a bit later. But yeah, Bulls get the job done, 45 points to 19. As you said, Cooks earlier, you pretty much need to bank on scoring 40 points if you want to beat the Bulls at Loftus. They kind of left a bit competitive, like even quite early into the second half. It felt like it was a bit similar. But if there's a candidate for a player that isn't a Springbok that should be in like the URC team of the season, Jean-Andre Rudolph,
Gee,
like Mr. Turnover King himself. I, yeah, I was not familiar with his game. I'll say that much. Like, I didn't think he'd be this sort of like impact player for a URC team. He's been really good. He's been a ridiculous player in the loose. And I mean, it's come to the point where he needs to play 80 minutes. Like Low, Hanekom, Kutsia, Van Staden, they need to sort themselves out somewhere else. He needs to be on the field as far as possible for the Bulls in this playoff run.
yeah, no, he's been incredible. I mean, this season. I think obviously, like for me, look at his true value. The last 3 weeks, we played 6, 7, 8. So I mean, he's
Mm.
plays any role you need in in the loose tree. And also a bit of a journeyman, obviously. We remember started off, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I remember Barca playing for Booker, and then he was at the Cheetahs for a while.
Yes.
And then even at the Bulls, like sort of, and then sort of now this year, he's sort of coming to prominence. He's at a very, very
Ospreys as well, I think.
yeah, Ospreys for a bit as well, and then sort of like the Bulls. Sort of this year, he's been incredible. Like you said, I think obviously the Bulls. I mean, the Springboks have in the rotation, and but he's been fantastic. I think he's arguably probably the player of the season this year for the Bulls,
Yeah.
and that's how good he's been. And again, showed on the weekend again. Unfortunately, he lives in the country of South Africa where you kick a bush and a loose forward comes out. So that's the hard that's the hard bit. I think harder than being a South African Lucy. I mean, we're sitting here fighting about
Mm.
locks. We have locks, scrum of issues. There's never a loose forward crisis in South Africa. Never.
Nope.
This is ne
Nope.
There's never a loose forward.
You,
They'd be like, we don't have a blindside flanker. We don't have an eight. But he's been fantastic. But yeah, like Tyler, I'm telling you, the Bulls, they make me worry because I mean, like they are playing good rugby. And like, obviously, the two games they've had leading up here didn't have to go home. It's just for me is that like I think they've sort of found, I mean, after that helter-skelter start and everything, I think they've sort of calmed
mm,
down, found themselves again. For me, the sign of it is that the guys who come in always make an impact. I always think that's a sign of a good side.
mm.
Sergio's come in the last two games, he's been very good. And, like whoever misses out, whoever comes back from my unsung heroes will always be Stedman Krans. Harold Forster looks like he's almost back to his best. He's been
Yeah.
carrying really well.
It's been
Willie
really good.
LaRue as well at 10. I thought he was good as well, just marshalling the troops. And then obviously we still had Pollard to come on. Embrose Papier obviously is luckily there's about seven scrum halves injured, so he's finally got himself back into the alignment camp. Just by sheer like, there's no more nines left. Like they're gonna pick a school scrum off at a stage before they pick him. It's like the sheer world. And I think obviously like even the pack, I think Hanekom is playing nicely again. Watching Cameron Hanekom is my favorite. I'm like, I was seeing a friend of mine on the weekend. I was like, I stress so much when watching Cameron Hanekom because I'm like, this is the time he gets injured. I'm like, I don't know whether he should play like 50 minutes and then once you get the win, okay, Cameron go off, but he's playing good rugby. Ronald here so playing as rugby. I think so. I think it's all coming out at the perfect time, and that's when you wanted to come. And I think they're going to be very, very dangerous. Also, I think they have a side two travel, obviously with the scrum with
Yeah.
with the
Pollard.
pack and also and the depth in the backs and Pollard. So they can also the most before you got Valerie is obviously experience so that you can sort of they do have sort of two sort of game plans that they can
Yeah.
stick to. But like yeah, like I said, we got Loftus Munster like just pack 40 points with you if like at least 35 if you're gonna try and beat the Bulls because they're scoring 35 like
Yeah.
it's in their contract.
The only annoying thing is that it's Munster. I mean, no, Munster love to do a madness in South Africa, so I'm not too confident. But I mean, yeah, I think it's been a lot of like even the players that were like unavailable have come back at the right time. Like Hanekom and Alklo obviously have struggled with injuries for most of the season. They sort of are now feels like they're more themselves now. Vukolo was unavailable for a bit. He's now come back in. Yeah, I mean, if we could just if one of Seb de Klerk or Kurtley Arendse were available for 2 weeks' time, I don't think that will happen, but I feel a lot more happy about that. But I mean, yeah, generally everyone is playing well. Everyone seems to know how they want to play, and they've, I mean, they kind of are reeling in a little bit the helter-skelter Loftus nature and not trying to score basketball scores a little bit, but not maybe not enough.
No, no,
So we'll see. And
they'll defend for 50 minutes now. Last time was 10, the start of the season was 20.
yeah,
Just getting better.
it's it's improvement. It's improvement. We'll take that. And yeah, it seems like Villy settled as well at 15 and Pollard. I mean, yeah, he's had a bit of a also an up and down season, but he seems settled. So yeah, I think in terms of timing the time right, compared to the Stormers, they really are. I think the Bulls have the momentum. They're one bonus point away from being third place.
Yeah.
They literally, it was just a Scarlets game. Like if they could have gotten a bonus point there, they would have been hosting Cardiff and you know, at least been a little bit closer as a possibility of maybe, getting a higher seed there. So, but I mean, in all, like I'm pretty happy with that. They did what they needed to do with winning their last few games against a weaker opposition, to be honest, an opposition that wasn't going to be in the playoffs. I guess you could say their last big game was the Glasgow game, like that Champions Cup game. So it's been a while since they've been tested. So maybe that comes into it. But yeah, I think most people can be pretty happy with that. And yeah, the Bulls seem to be the form side out of the three South African teams. So we'll see how they go against Munster. Yeah, I mean, at least I thought I was a bit surprised at how many sort of regular Italian players were in the Benetton team. I thought those guys would be given like the month off to prepare for their tour in July. But yeah, I think that was a pretty decent win for the Bulls. Um, yeah, I guess, yeah, you make a good argument about the Bulls traveling better with their away game. Yeah, I think all three South African teams, you just don't feel too confident. You are kind of hoping for them to turn up on the day. And we kind of saw that in the Champions Cup in the last 16, where the Bulls and the Stormers took teams that probably were in better form close. So I guess that's what they need to build on is we know how to play knockout rugby in this country. We know how to sort of get the points when we need to rely on the set piece, rely on those things to do that. So yeah, oof, it's tough to see a South African team winning two away wins in a row to win a trophy. That's the only negative of how this log has been set up. So we'll definitely need some favors, but I mean, of course, the Bulls and the Stormers first have to do the business against Munster and Cardiff, respectively.
Yeah, I think that's what you do need. I think the moment I think the focus is let's try to get two SA sides in the semi-finals and then take it from there.
Yeah.
Hope for the best. If the Bulls and Stormers win, they'll probably get obviously Glasgow or Leinster. You win one of those games, maybe you find yourself hosting a final. So yeah, I think obviously they would match themselves and hopefully let's leave the upsets and the miracle stories for the Stormers and the Bulls doing it in the semis. But yeah, I'm fairly confident. I mean, obviously, no Munster in love it's a knockout game, but I think the Bulls will just be a little stage too far for them. I just think yeah, I say that, but when Crowley and those guys come here, I don't know what happens to Munster once they land Ora Tambo. And
Hmm.
and also the Bulls also do love forgetting that they are the side playing with the altitude advantages when they get to the playoffs as well. So, but I think the Bulls will be too strong, and I think Stormers as well for Cardiff.
Yeah. So, Leah, speaking of Munster, they beat the Lions to secure their place in the top eight. The Lions, because they had more points than Ulster before the game, they didn't actually need too much from this game. So they find themselves there in seventh and are heading to Leinster for their quarterfinal. I mean, yeah, like in terms of the game itself, like there were chances for the Lions. Like, I think Munster would probably be a little bit disappointed they didn't score more. But I mean, Munster also going through, it's classic Munster that they have like a massive type 5 injury crisis right now. But yeah, I think the Lions should, get them. I mean, feel like they were relatively they weren't too far off in this game. I mean, the Leicester game was something else, but this game they gave themselves a decent account of it. I don't know if they're going to be staying in Ireland for the next week because I mean they've been there for 2 weeks now. They may as well just get acclimatized.
Yeah, it was like don't bring the flight back home and just type in Ireland and get yourselves ready. But yeah, I think for me the Lions, I think in months, I think the hard thing for the Lions didn't start well this first two, especially against Leinster. I mean that game was kind
Mm,
of done quite early, and that's unfortunately Leinster when they're on they just beat you in, like they can beat you in those little about 10-minute periods. They just put on 15, 20 points and then the game is done. So
yeah.
for me in this weekend, I think the Lions, just at the end, there's so many chances to win that game. Chance of a chance.
Mm,
And, I think that's sort of the frustrating thing. But for me, like in general, I think for the Lions, I think they'll probably would taken a place in the playoffs. Um, it's been like the one there last season, but like to place in the playoffs. A lot of players have been fantastic. SJ Kutsa, I mean, he's sort of come through nicely this year. Everyone's been busy. I must say, like, I mean, so sad that Morne van der Berg got injured. He's been incredible this season. I mean, that
mm.
they've had, and now he's sort of
Best
he
his best season, I think. Yeah.
yeah, he's been at another level. Chris Smith, Mr. Reliable, has got them done, and just so many players that have stepped up. And I mean, listen, we asked a massive favor from them, saying in order for them to sort of get themselves in the playoffs, they needed to do something like win all those home games. The one in the finals was win like what, seven straight, and it shows they can do it. I think obviously I think a tour to Leinster and Munster is this one is probably the toughest tour in the URC if you go into one country. And as a desperate Munster side, I think Lions obviously definitely have a good account of themselves. I still give them a chance against Leinster. I think obviously it is going to be difficult. But we've seen Leinster lose a game at home. I think the Lions going there with nothing to lose. But the problem is they've got to start really well. I think that's what hurt them
Mm,
in that last fixture. Obviously, Leinster also coming off the Champions League semi win. I just think that you just can't let Leinster get. For me, Leinster's that side that, like, if they start off really well in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, pack your bags. No, it's probably done like that.
mm.
But like once you sort of get them frustrated and then get them frustrated, keep the game tight, and the Lions also got the quality to hurt them. And obviously that just allowed try. That's yeah, my harshest try. I'm still trying to figure out how that was disallowed, but I think there are chances there for the Lions. I think, but just yeah, the weekend was tough. I mean, but it just shows in the fine margins for them, which they'll probably get used to. Can need to like all the chances in games you got to take, and big, 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 big game now for and Hashim Pete coming up, or
Mm.
against Leinster and probably get a start. But for me, the recipe's there. Like Thala, I can definitely see the Lions doing it again next season. Obviously, again, age-old story of the Lions retaining all their players, but I definitely can see them putting this run again together next year together. I think there's definitely a core here being built, and it's a young core, and you can definitely
Yeah.
see that. Like, I'm very interested to see how they recruit and who they bring in, because I definitely think there's something to work with there, and to go in that run there in this year, 7 week game straight. Listen, they're not the first team to go to tour at Lions and Munster and lose, and they definitely won't be the last.
Yeah. I mean, on this, I think this weekend, like, yeah, I think the Lions just showed like if they keep ball in hand, like they'll always be dangerous. They'll always have an opportunity to test a team and to get a score. And what for me, I would be like telling them like that's the approach you need to take to Leinster is like just make it as helter-skelter as possible. Um, I think I mean, look, we'll see what happens with regards to certain players being available. I mean, Frank Horn had to go off in this game, so yeah, hopefully he's not out because I mean he's so key. But like, I hoping if they can get somewhat close, as many of their key players there as possible, it's gonna make a difference. I mean, obviously, like not having Tabakanye is gonna be, I think, a big sort of difference there because I think he could have he almost is like worth 5 points in himself. So like it's just sort of building around those sort of players. Um, yeah, I think in terms of, yeah, like I said, in terms of the in 2 weeks' time against Leinster, it's just they're the top offloading team in the league, and that's just how they tore apart Glasgow. They just need to sort of, I mean, it's easier in Joburg than it is in Dublin, but it literally just needs to be keep the ball alive, like make the rush defense, make mistakes, take your chances, like almost do like what Northampton did last year. And if it becomes like a 35-32 game, I think Leicester's uncomfortable with that. I almost think this Leicester wants it to be a bit scrappy and tight because they've kind of, yeah, like they're more defensive minded than attack minded. So we'll see. But yeah, like obviously, Hlekane and Maashe have been like two of the revelations this season. Maashe got himself or was in a bit of a situation with this splitting allegation. It seems like it's come to nothing. There hasn't
Yeah.
been a sighting. It's a weird, I mean, I didn't see I mean, I saw like just clips of it. It would be just a weird place for a splitting thing to happen. That's
Yeah.
what I'm not quite fully understanding. It's like in a tackle, like that's the
Mm.
last thing I'd be thinking about.
Yeah, it was quite weird. But I mean, like, I don't know. Tell us an agenda. You know me. No agenda against us. They want us out. What's his name? Demon Jones said we'd be gone in 3 years, or I think we said 3 or 5 years. Now they're saying we're spitting at each other. We had the Tom Curry bongi incident. All these things is just happening when the cameras are off. Because I was like looking for spit. I'm like, what's going on here?
I didn't even know how to sort of to even put all of that together. But it'll be interesting what the Lions do. Obviously, keep their players as number one, but they need two signings in their tight five.
Mm,
So if this Ntlabakanye appeal doesn't work out, they definitely need a prop, and I've been saying for probably a few seasons now, they need proper locks or a lock at least just to
mm,
give their quality. So whatever scraps they can get from the other teams, or maybe someone returning from France or from Japan, they need to make sure that they get themselves there. But yeah, big congratulations to the Lions. Like first top eight finish. They'll be in the Champions Cup for the first time, just as South Africa is deciding to quit the Champions Cup.
mm. Yeah, now we're out now.
They,
We're like, as the
yeah,
Lions
the
go,
worst
like, yeah.
timing.
As I go, like, yeah, we're done with this thing. But I must say, before we dodge other side, like, talk about the Sharks. I mean, our season ended in October, so enough about them. But I must say, this Champions Cup thing, I mean, like, it's the classic Shannon Sharp line, like, there's like, two things can be true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. The season is a mess for the Springboks. It's an absolute mess.
Mm,
And, I think now we're starting to feel the after effects of it, about the 3, 4 years in with the injuries we're having and like more guys going on the injuries and some of them, especially the older guys, like just maybe could just be like it's injury and just fatigue, like just playing rugby all year round because
mm,
these guys are still playing 12, 13 tests. Yeah, Rassie does rotate
yeah.
on guys, and I mean, some of the guys are still playing 11 test matches into a full-on domestic season, and obviously getting that break, and there is no sort of break for themselves, like maybe in Feb. And I think for me, like, yeah, it's definitely adding up. So I think that for me, it's more of a season thing that needs to sort of get sorted out. I mean, again, we 1 foot in Europe, 1 foot here at home. That's the hard part. Like, that's the rugby championship obviously hurts us. It's a great competition, but obviously hurts us because of when the other teams are resting the domestic sides, we got our players being full
Mm,
internationals. This year becomes more interesting because all the other sides are also involved in one-off games against the All Blacks, plus the All Blacks tour, which runs a bit longer as well. So I hear that part in player welfare. It's for me, it's just yeah, it's going to be frustrating not to be in the Champions Cup. I think if it's just going to be such a sad end because obviously, like, just to make the splash, I thought we wanted to do what? No, none of us has made it into a semi-final, if I'm mistaken. And it's just, yeah, obviously, I think for me, the exciting thing we moved to Europe was the thought of us being, in the Champions Cup, playing against some of the best sides in the world. And I just really hope,
mm,
obviously, with the travel and the thing that didn't work out well. I don't know, Tyler, like maybe a part of me still thinks just go sit down. Like, yeah, I think URC is a fantastic competition. Don't get me wrong, I think so. But I think to solve all
mm.
the issues, just let's go and sit down with New Zealand Rugby Australia. Just go back in a room and just let bygones be bygones. Let's be men about it. Hey, come on now. Let's get the calendar back to where it was. Let's let's do something. Because if I hear global calendar one more time, for then I'm going to lose my mind. Because the global calendar is like it's the biggest myth in rugby. It's like having it's basically like rugby's got like this leaking tap that we all know there's a leak, and yet no one wants to call a plumber. Like we see it leak
Mm,
every week. It's like, guys, the tap is leaking, and no one wants to do anything about it. But I mean,
yeah,
the season's not going to end, the global season. Like, even if we just play URC alone, I still think we have the same issues. Yeah, maybe there's more breaks in between. So blah, yeah, there might be 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. That might add up. I hear that, but it still feels like the seasons are still going to be slightly like this again. Because we're still one foot here, 1 foot there. So that's my take.
yeah. Yeah, Cooks, I think you're 100% right. Like this um idea of going to Europe was never going to work if we weren't fully committed to going to Europe. So, look, the Springboks are many things. Obviously, they're four-time world champions, but they can't defeat geography, unfortunately. Like, obviously, I think the first thing is the Springboks are far from one rugby center in Europe because it's a decent 8-hour flight, at least in the same time zone, and then about 16 hours away from the other rugby zone in Australasia. And obviously, there's a time zone issue. So, obviously, like even with Super Rugby, there were always issues with that. I'm sure players did not enjoy being in flights for 16 hours, but at the very least, you were there, you did it once. You just had to fly in and fly out once. You played your 4 games, you usually lost 3 of them, and then you got back home. Now, because of just how Europe is structured with obviously a mix of the Champions Cup and the league, it's just it's not a good mix because you have to go up and down the whole time. So I think the Champions Cup thing was inevitable. Like it's it just doesn't work for us, and we're never gonna play our best teams. We're never gonna have the squads big enough to really compete with the Toulouses, the Bordeaux, the Leinsters that can, you know, rotate enough in the URC or in the top 14 that they don't have to worry about playing their best players in the Champions Cup. So I don't think there's a point. I think withdrawing is actually a wise thing. But you're
Mm.
right, Cooks. I don't think it solves all the problems. Yeah, again, it's not because the Aussie isn't I've really loved the Aussie. I was probably more anti this when it started, and I've grown to really love it. But I think the best solution is as long as we're in the rugby championship, and I really don't see the Six Nations opening a door for the Springboks, and I don't think they should, honestly, because they've got a really good thing with the Six Nations and the fact that fans can just jump from country to country to support their team. It's just not going to be possible with South Africa unless Cricket South Africa is selling the tickets, and then you can have the whole of England in one game in Cape Town. But that's another thing for another podcast. For cricket bits, I'll talk about that a bit more. But yeah, I don't think Europe owes us a Six Nations place, so I don't think that will ever happen. Yeah, I guess Cooks, you're right. Maybe during this rugby's greatest rivalry, we get into a room, we reminisce about the old days, Bulls Crusaders games and Sharks Hurricanes games, and we
Yeah,
just we go back.
let's do that again, man. Sit in a room together. Come on, guys. You have your brains and cokes. Sit there and be like, guys, don't we miss this? Don't we miss this?
Yeah. Big
You know,
advantage also. We play what like 16, 18 games in Super Rugby, not this 24 games that we pretty much are on for Europe. Um, yeah, obviously the travel is not going to be great, but we then have a proper off season. Look, rugby in December is kind of fun, but it's also not good. It's really utter woke nonsense because it's the worst rugby you'll ever see. So I think we need to reclaim the summers for cricket and for Brian and not for watching,
well,
Sasha and the boys try to sweat it out in 40-degree heat.
well, like you said, this year, unfortunately, we stay in Cape Town. If you want to watch any South African side play, you might have to just go to your URC game, to be honest with you. Can't go to Centurion.
Basically.
Birmingham is there. Can't go to Cape Town. Birmingham is there. So you might as well just go watch URC.
Yeah, look, maybe the Bordeaux is going to be taking URC tickets as well. Who knows? But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a long-term solution apart from fully committing to a hemisphere. And I don't think it'll be Europe opening that door. England and France obviously call the shots there. We at least have a bit more bargaining power in Sansa to be like, well, we can call shots and maybe we can structure it a bit differently. Maybe it's going to be more of like a knockout competition, maybe. I don't know. But I wouldn't be too surprised if in 4 years' time we're talking about the South African teams being back in the Super Rugby. I think the one big advantage, and probably the reason why it might not happen too soon, is that URC probably still brings in more money.
Mm.
But if the money is being spent on doing multiple travels, and obviously flight prices are ridiculous these days, and I don't know if they're going to go down anytime soon for many other reasons. I don't know if we really are getting those profits. Like we still have to spend at least there's two times that we have to go overseas in the URC. So we're cutting one down at least with two with Champions Cup. So does that solve things? I don't think so. Like it makes things a bit better, but I think there's a long way to go here. But all that said, at least the Lions must enjoy the Champions Cup until before we withdraw from it. So I want the Lions to have a full Champions Cup experience, put them in a group with Toulouse, let them have to play Toulouse away like the rest of us had to, let them get 60 points with, Dupont and Ramos running wild. Like you need these initiation baptisms of fire for your team as well.
Yeah, let's keep Bordeaux down to Ellis Park. Come on, we want to see it.
Uh, that'll be the first time Dupont plays in Ellis Park, maybe. Actually. So yeah, I think we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and then very quickly, Cooks, I want to promise myself I'll be just positive about the Sharks. I think the main positive thing is there's a lot of good young players that JP has obviously given opportunities to that could build something here. So yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, obviously, it feels like every weekend there's a new talk of the town. But I think you have something there where you can actually build on like the players that have been playing the last few weeks or the last few months essentially. And someone like Siaya, someone like Koma, like Moyo, those sort of players you can actually kind of try to build around, or at the very least, say you're part of the squad, we can actually sort of build some momentum around you. And yeah, maybe Mazzotti now puts the checkbook away for life. And now actually we build almost like a homegrown, like what the Stormers did a few years ago of you have a few Springboks, yes, but it's mostly sort of homegrown. We build players and then we build a squad that can actually compete. So I think there's positives at least for the Springboks. I mean for the Sharks.
Yeah, I think obviously I think as the season ends as a Sharks fan, you kind of end the season a bit more hopeful. I think I love what JP did in giving the youngsters a chance, obviously after being knocked out of the competition. You're still in a situation where you got an 18-year-old at 10 and a 19 I mean a 19-year-old at 10 and a 18-year-old at fullback. And I thought Moya was good on the weekend to start. I mean, he's got an absolute cannon of a right boot, and obviously and again, obviously, he can tackle, carry, he's got a good pass. And I think the Sharks, obviously, I think the big thing, 10 is a position where it feels like no one has locked it down. I think Jordan Hendricks has not sort of, he's been good in times and not
Mm-mm.
sort of held in the jersey at time. Masuku's been in and out, and then John Smith wasn't the answer. And now I think Moyo for me, I think on the upside, I think, I'm happy to live in a world where you've got, Moyo and a Jordan Hendricks. I think, two of those guys, and hopefully you can see how they go. And SCI, obviously, I mean, he had a nice run at 10 as well. And you got Yako Williams at 15, who was also very good. He played on the wing on the weekend as well. Yako Williams looks like he's also an incredible talent. Then you're surrounding that with an Andre Esterhuizen, and so yeah, a lot to be hopeful about. And I think I do like the signings we've made, and obviously you lose Grant Williams. I think even Van Zyl is an astute signing. I think
Mm.
Springbok experience guys, it was a good run at Saracens. I think obviously he can bring what they learned at
Yeah.
Saracens culture into the Sharks as well. I think he'll be great for a young 10. Hopefully he can rumble on the other nines. I thought David's also has come along quite nicely as well at 10. I mean at 9 as well. So, I think adding, Stephen Levis sort of comes home as well. So yeah, I mean, Setu Ndebelele coming in, another youngster hooker was part of the baby Bok winning team last year, and obviously he's going to get back in injury hopefully again this year. So I think the balance is there. I think for me, I'm definitely happy to be sold on a Sharks project where you tell me that even next year we're sort of obviously wanting to improve, but there's something we're building here. So it might take even next season, maybe get back into the playoffs next year. I know the Sharks fans, a lot of people are like, oh no, we need to get back in the mix, guys. We can't. miss the playoffs, and then 1 hour you now want to go challenge for the top spot. I think so. Something to build on. I think I like the way JP ended it. Yeah, so very, and I think, and it's not like it's like exciting youngsters, like really, really good players, and like guys who
Yeah.
can be like shock stores for a long time. So yeah, I am happy with the way it ended. So it was a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, literally in that back line, the only player over 25 is Andre Stuyven. It was
Mm.
Daddy Daycare that he was running there. And I think, yeah, like there's some like I think the backline talents are great, but I think the forwards as well. Like, Ganyane has obviously got a few chances. We've seen Henry Jacobs, he's been really good. Like, there's players there that, I mean, the likes of Hatton and Brodier, and like, you can there's something you can see there in the distance of, okay, like, we and like you said, with the signs that they've made, it's not
Thomas
sort of
Toy
these
comes back,
big.
things like that. Like Thomas Toy comes back as
Mm,
well. Like the guys like that,
yeah.
massive difference.
Yeah, so but it's not necessarily like big money signings that only can play half the season because they're Springboks. It's actual players that will probably be in your team the whole season. So
Mm.
hopefully they're not. The only disadvantage is that sometimes you get them and they're a bit washed, and yeah, like they're not playing like at their best. But if they are able to sort of get, you know, build into the team and have momentum, like that's going to be good. So yeah, I mean, ending off like, beating Zebre by 54 points to 19, that's really good. Like these players can get that experience. I'm sure a lot of them will be involved in the Curry Cup as well. And yeah, I think arguably should be it. We just don't want to burn them out. But like, I think, game time will help, the Moyos and Yako Williams just to get their game going. And yeah, like they can then really start and hit the ground running when they start the season next season.
No, 100%. I'm confident. I'm excited. But yeah, we'll see how the Sharks go next year. But yeah, I said, just like you said, just want guys, I shot the Sharks next year when the Boks are away, not for to the College Rovers. That's what I ask. That's what I want.
Yeah. Also, speaking of Springboks, Siya Kolisi playing his last game for the Sharks. He'll be going down to Cape Town and going back to the Stormers. It's weird to have a second farewell game for a team in like 3 or 4 years. So yeah, but he ended with two tries. I think it was player of the match as well.
Yeah,
So
very
at
good.
least he ended off on a good note.
No, yeah, it's very good. Like, yeah, it's like back to the Stormers. I do like how Dobber put in this article like he's taking a pay cut, guys. Don't worry, we're putting. I was like, geez, Dobber, put his affairs out there. But yeah, I think yeah, it's a good stint. I mean, I think when he was there and his time as a Storm, I think he had a good
He
stint.
played well, yeah.
Played really good rugby, and I'm glad the weekend he ended off on a high note.
Yeah. Yeah, Cooks. I mean, yeah, I think we've kind of mentioned here and there like players that were made the alignment camp. But yeah, the big surprises were pretty much the likes of Embrose Papier coming into it. Some of the younger players coming in, like Siaya as well. I mean, yeah, obviously Rassi, I mean, we mustn't lose our heads too much as Rassi getting a look at some players. Obviously, it shows there is a bit of a scrum off injury crisis right now. But apart from that, like I don't think there's too much to read into it. I think the only sort of agenda I'm happy to push is finally Frankie Horn is noticed also by Rassi, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, me too. I think he's played some really good rugby as well. So I think, and also just form of the lines coming through. I think Locke does feel like a bit of a crisis there. I think, but hopefully we get guys
Mm,
back. Yeah, happy that Ambrose is there. But again, I think Alarm Camp. I mean, it's also CI is in the mix as well. But again, it's just having a look at the guys. Yeah, I'm excited. I think obviously we're nearing sort of Springbok season as well. I think that's coming around the corner. I think it's going to be very interesting that first squad. Obviously, we got obviously still got the international guys that's going to come in as well. The guys in Japan, and obviously they're coming in via Zoom again. But yeah, I think the squad looks good. I'm just very happy for Embrose. I think geez, it got us. It was getting a stage where like it just. I mean, even if you go to the guy's house and just give him like. Just give him like the USB of the someone's between the USB back in the camp so you can see some of the moves. Do something.
Yeah, I'm glad for Papier. Like he's been really obviously really good. And I know he's a nine with a few flaws, and like you can see why in some ways Rice hasn't selected him. But yeah, I think he at least deserves a look in. Well, I mean, he might play obviously because of all the injuries at nine. So we'll see about that. Speaking of training squads, big controversy in England. Benhard Janse van Rensburg, former baby buck, been playing for Bristol and London Irish for years in England. He's English qualified. He makes a training squad for Steve Borthwick, which, as we know, Steve Borthwick. I think the main thing for people that are unhappy about this is it's Steve Borthwick. There'll be another squad in a few days, so he might not be in that squad for more than literally a week. But yeah, I mean, I yeah, I don't know. Like it's so interesting when England picks and chooses which players shouldn't represent England on the basis of them not being born here, not being grown in England, whatever. Okay, whatever. But I'm also like, you guys know you don't have centers, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you want to do Seb Atkinson and Fraser Dingwall again, but be my guest. I will not stop you. But I'm just saying, like, you don't. There's no problem in trying Benhard, who's been pretty much one of your best centers for years in the Prem.
Yeah, I think you're getting one of your best players in the Prem who's been very good and been very consistent. And it's one of those things like the good old adage, like with England go like, yeah, if he's not going to play with Springboks, like he's not going to play for us. I'm like, whoa. Those guys are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, let's not like walk on a high horse here, like as if you've never seen other players born from other countries play. Because I mean, I love the fact that Billy Vanapola, it's probably like, I mean, this is just English core, do his core, and like the other guys, the Marcos. There's so many players there, like one born in England who've been stalwarts here, like, but you can't like Tupilodu now, like you can't just choose when you don't want. But from South Africa now, all of a sudden it's an issue. And for me, like the guy spent time there. He did his time. Qualified and
Mm,
played good enough rugby to go there. Um, he's played good enough rugby sort of to be looked in the training camp. And I don't blame Borthwick if he goes, listen, if it's going to make our side stronger, we do have a bit of a center crisis. And for me, like the English fans mention like other centers. I'm like, yeah, but like it's more like quantity over quality. And now you got someone here who's
mm,
probably been outplaying all those centers as well and playing very good rugby to strengthen your side. You kind of take it. And I can see him making that Nations Cup side. I'm throwing him in there against Springboks as well. Come on, let's say a good job. Throw him straight into against the
yeah.
Bordeaux Champions. See what he is. You got nothing to look at, nothing to lose there. Because I still think you're at England's centre crowd. It's not a crisis. I just don't know. I feel like they don't know who their best centres are. Like you said,
Mm,
you've seen Atkinson, Dingwall. I mean, like we've seen, obviously. Sean's favorite Marshall, and he wants him to come back. And then obviously it's Ollie Lawrence, and then Slade now is out, and then like so. For me, I agree with you. If you got Dingwall and Atkinson, I sign me up every day, every day of the week. I'm happy with England to go with that. But like, I think it's a position for them that it's still not rectified, and they still don't know who. And I think both as well doesn't know if he said now and go who's your two starting centers. I still think he doesn't know because he's still trying to figure it out. So
mm.
throwing another one in and also throwing a Bordeaux Champions Rensburg who has been playing very good rugby. I think it's a win for them. But I mean, how dare England how dare England be happy for themselves actually, as opposed to be like we are annoyed because he comes from South Africa. I was like, okay, cool. Then we're like, but then the classic. So it's funny when South Africans go like, yeah, but like we think we might miss him. I was like, no, we're not. Like, nothing against him. I was like, we're like, come on, Oaks. Like for me, like if Oak is good enough to qualify for an international side, has been there for that long, the guy play international rugby.
Yeah. I mean, and he had to do it the long way. So this
Yeah.
was post the changes. So it's not 3 years. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of a difference 3 or 5 years make, but yeah, it's been literally him
Mm.
sort of, he's spent so much time in the Prem and he's been in teams of the seasons and all that sort of stuff. I mean, had to go through a team being, what do you call it, liquidated as well.
Yeah.
Like he's gone through the whole experience there. So I mean, I'm excited for him, and I want him to do as well as he can. So I hope he does take his chance. And like yeah, for Borthwick, it's just a thing of like you just have a nice look at someone. I am pretty sure it doesn't solve anything because Jans van Rensburg is also a 12 and a half center. Like he's kind of a big body that can crash, but kind of wants to play more 13, just like Ollie Lawrence, just like Fraser Dingwall. kind of like Max Ojomo, kind of like Seb Atkinson. So I mean, they literally have the same type of center like 5 times over.
No, it is true. I mean, like, yeah, I like that term 12 and a half, and you just like, and you just want them to find like a 13. I mean, there's Henry Slade, but then sometimes he gets a chess matches, it doesn't feel like tackling, which is not going to work. Like, is Owen Farrell retired from internationals? I keep wondering. Like, what's going
I don't
on?
think Faz is playing that well, to be fair.
Bring
Like,
him. I saw him throwing the line on the weekend. Bring back my guy. He's throwing the line out. He's doing the most. Bring hashtag free fairs. Hashtag, hey man, I'm not here.
can we?
I'm just
I was gonna say, can we actually talk about the Prem? Actually, speaking of, because I'm also like, is the Prem the place to measure if someone's good enough for international rugby? Like, if you're getting scores of 94-33 and 69-12, and like a big chunk of the 60-point games are happening in your league, like, I don't know if I should be, looking at you as a place to develop players anymore.
The Prem is the best place to be if you're a tech coach. I think if you're a tech coach, I mean, Prem can make a break, can make you there. The thing with the Prem is that teams just decide they don't feel like playing rugby. And I don't know what, then like, because Bristol in the first half just decided, like, I don't know, they knew they're involved in a rugby match. Like, I don't know if someone didn't tell them, because how are you conceding 60 points at halftime? And then you're like, are these guys in the mix for the playoffs? The Prem sometimes like the Prem. I think the Prem is trying to rival Super Rugby. Sometimes you need, but the problem with the Prem is like feels like it's like 14 cheater sides. You know what I mean? Like you can't all be the cheaters. Like one team needs to be that team. It can't be all of you. And no, the Prem the Prem makes me laugh. But I don't know, Tyler. Like you're right. I think the Prem shouldn't be the ultimate measure at the moment because you can't you can't be in a playoff mixed if you concede 90 points. I'm sorry, that doesn't sit right with me. You can't 60 points at halftime. Like, what are we doing here?
So Bristol can still, I mean, it's unlikely, but Bristol can still be in the semi-finals after conceding 94 points. No, yeah, a competition needs to intervene and just say, no, you can't qualify for the quarterfinals, like, and
Yeah,
for the
that's
semi-finals.
your
There's no
that's your
way.
and especially like tied on points. Like, are you going to points? Like, I wonder if Bristol like be tied on points or someone. They'll be like, are you going? Is it points difference? Like, no, you out because you conceded 90 points. It's just that simple. Like, you can have all most wins, but you're out. You are out on the basis that
Yeah.
you concede 90 points. You can't come forth and play in the quarters semi-final.
Also, England, I saw you, that side swipe you took at us in the article about South African teams going out of the Champions Cup and that's going to bring back the Champions Cup to what it was. Guys, we had TV. SuperSport does show Champions Cup. This thing was going down long before the South African teams came in. And you're going to have 8 teams in the Champions Cup next season. You're going to have Sale that won 4 out of their 12 games. You're going to have Harlequins that won 5 out of 11 games in the Champions Cup. Don't come and tell us that we're the problem here. Like,
The thing
teams
is,
are winning a quarter of their games, are going to qualify for the biggest competition in
yeah,
Europe.
I must say, to rugby, I don't know. Like, we're in such a weird place. Like no one likes us, and that's fair. I mean, like we don't make it easy to like as well. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say we innocent, but my goodness, like it does feel like it's like the North versus the Springboks of South Africa. I don't know why England's got an issue with us. Like I thought we just don't like obviously we got like our own beef, but like we just like left that to the Springboks in England. Now all of a sudden they're taking side swaps at us during the Champions Cup and they're making it sound like I don't know where like that is coming from. Like I watched the Saints get drilled by Bordeaux in the final. Like unless I'm seeing
Mm.
things, unless I forgot about it. But anyway, but like I just think it's so weird. Like you tell her every like last this year, you know, I'll be busy, catch a few rugby games. But then I'm like, oh, I wonder what's happened on rugby Twitter. Because it seems like not much. And then you like
Don't
scan
do
happens.
that.
You're like,
Don't do
oh
that.
goodness, what have I what have I missed now? And then it's just no one likes us. We don't like them. It's boding well for international season. But like, yeah, I think us rugby fans from the northern side just need to calm down. I think like it's not even rage baiting anymore. Like I'm just worried people are just it's just getting angry. People are just angry at them. Like I don't know why they're angry. Like again, let's just go back to Super Rugby. Just go back to sit in a room again. Just let them be. and play. Let them be on that side, and we'll be here on the south. I think also they're angry because the fact that the Box now we've won every game on our tour in the north for the last 2 years, and like they don't have that
Mm.
that little chip away winning as the Springboks and be like yo like we leave them bay. Now they're just like they've got nothing to go against, and England must stop running from the hustle and like it must play us at the end of the year. Keep running from the grind, those guys. We're gonna get them at Loftus, or Ellis Park, but they keep running from the grind. And England like doing this thing. I've realized this. Isn't it, Jones? They love to run from the grind from when they're peaking, but we'll catch them. We'll get them. Ireland don't say anything
Yeah,
this
look,
time. Ireland have left the Springboks after because then apparently that scrum is still going backwards from the test last year. So now they're taking it now they're like trying to attack our unions one by one. They're just like that Ireland bog rivalry just kind of disappeared into no man. It's gone now. Like it was a great 2 years. We loved it. We had memories. Hell, if anyone Vietnam loved. Now we're just like they're just like yeah okay we're just gonna attack your provincial sides.
yeah, no, it just needs that Bulls Munster game is just gonna get this it's gonna bring the spice back. Remember with the Sharks Munster last season and obviously all that drama
Oh, that's
in
true.
that quarterfinal.
Yeah,
So yeah, we
but then
just
they
need
can't. Then they can't.
one.
Just once, then they can't scrum. Then they forget about that. They're like, oh, that's the worst. Like they just can't scrum. So like they got no like way to like really keep them in the mix because they know they can't scrum. Like oh, so what's the point?
Yeah. So, Cooks, just in the last few minutes, let's preview a little bit the Champions Cup final. So it's Leinster versus Bordeaux. I mean, I remember listening to your pod with Sean after the semi-finals, and yeah, I mean, two teams that are sort of coming in different places. But it's so weird because if you see top 14 Bordeaux, that is not quite in the playoffs. Like they are sort of fighting for their lives to get into the barrage. Like they haven't been really good, but obviously they've been great in the Champions Cup. Leinster have been also a bit up and down and haven't really played their best. But this weekend, Bordeaux kind of plays like a mixed team, and they barely beat Perpignan, who are definitely going into a promotion relegation playoff game in a few weeks. And Leinster obviously have put 50 or like 60 points on the Ospreys. So you're just like, oh, maybe something is happening here. Maybe Leicester's cooking something. It looks like Paddy McCarthy might come back this week and just help out. Andrew Porter's now back, so you'll have a little bit of hope there in the scrum. And essentially, someone needs to man mark Ben Tamifuna. So maybe you start with McCarthy if he's fit, and you have Porter just there, just trying to stop Big Ben as far as possible. But yeah, I don't know. There's something in me that's saying maybe this is Leicester's time.
I think don't you believe? I think so as well. They have a big chance. I mean, I think the way they're playing, it feels like they've been flying on the radar, chip on their shoulder. I mean, you saw Leo Cullen after the semi-final. I mean, calling out all the haters. I
Mm.
mean, chanting his inner Warrior. Um, but I think for me, I think Leinster they've got the sort of the game plan to do it. And I think obviously in the rush defense, I think it'll work very hard this weekend against that Bordeaux side. I just think for me, Bordeaux in the Champions Cup, they just seem to be like they have an extra gear that no other team has. And I just think for me, like with the hard thing for Leinster is that do they have it in them to sort of be ready to go jouer if needs be against a Bordeaux side if they start
Mm.
well. I think for Bordeaux against Bath, it just felt like they just had another extra gear and they're opening, and I felt like they could score when they needed to score. And they, like you got the Ben foot, and you got the pack that's good, but then obviously those backs are incredible. And I think for me, like a Luku, a Jalibert, a Mofana, Riasi as well I think for me, like there's such a big game team now, especially in the Champions Cup, having got the hoodoo of they've won one. And I think with Leinster, I think they also don't have as many players as they used to, like, who've been like sort of played in like who actually won the Champions Cup, and they've got a lot of heartbreak in that
Mm.
squad. And hopefully, Tella is this. I mean, having won the URC last year, maybe they finally got that sort of that voodoo of their back in the final. So it's going to be interesting. But for me, I still think Bordeaux is just slightly better. I just think Bordeaux. Yo, Tella, there's no team that scares me more like Bordeaux when they're on. And I think in the mixed bag, if they're on this weekend for Leinster, it does become tough. I think obviously Leinster, I mean, all the experience there in internationals, but the guys like Luku Jalibert, a lot of them have become like sort of proper French internationals now and stalwarts, and will
Mm.
want to obviously, remind obviously Gaultier. I mean, apparently because they're all playing in this Champions Nations Cup as well. and they'll want to keep this trophy in France. And I think Bordeaux just have it just a little bit too much for them. I think it'll be high scoring. I think it'll be high scoring. I can see it being like a 36-27 to Bordeaux.
Mm.
I think if Leinster for me wins, it's got to be like a 17-15, 22-18 sort of game, attritional. But I just think, I don't know how you keep Bordeaux. I don't know how you contain Bordeaux, to be honest with you. I don't know. Like, I just don't know how you contain those guys, especially like when they get going. I don't know what you're gonna do like, like against Bilberi when unfortunately when the
Mm.
whole world is watching, he's got to at least score 2 tries.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, and I'm not saying this feeling is justified, but something's telling me maybe, yeah, I don't even think this has been Bordeaux hasn't been 100%, 100%. Like they did it for maybe 20 minutes against Toulouse. Obviously, that was more than enough. And obviously, they did it for pretty much also 20 minutes against Bath, and that was enough. So yeah, maybe that's all they need. But yeah, like I think for Leinster, it's so funny because Leicester have been knocked out of Champions Cup games or lost finals or semi-finals on sort of both ways. Sort of the big start and then losing through a comeback, or sort of getting behind early and then losing. So I don't even know what the path is, but yeah, at some point, you become due. And maybe I'm also projecting a little bit about Arsenal. I think that's also part of it, just being like, hey man, you've been so close for a few seasons. It must be time at some point for you to win a trophy. So I don't know. I'm kind of feeling that vibe there. But yeah, I think it'll have to be like one of those like classic Doris and Van der Fleer type of performances. You'll need big games, obviously, from McCarthy in the pack. Sheehan's going to have to be absolutely world class. It'll have to be a good Harry Byrne game. So yeah, sometimes a bit unpredictable. Did I see the Sharks were trying to buy Harry Byrne? I don't know if I dreamed that. I thought I saw
Hey,
some rumor about that.
hey, listen, before Moya started at 10 in the weekend, a lot of rumors just, just circling around, Thomas Allen. There was known as Ross Byrne, James O'Connor. Yeah,
That's
you blink.
that's wild.
Apparently there was a flight sent out to Auckland to Dan Carter, to see if he's keen if he's just to run it back. There was the moments of Johnny Wilkinson. They've been watching his Instagram clips. By the way, I must say, before we leave, the Johnny Wilkinson Instagram clips are my new favorite thing in the world. Like Instagram, you're watching that.
Oh, well, tell me about this. What's happening?
He's just going through his processes, trying to training wise, kicking drills and things like that. It's he must and what he's going through. It's just like going, guys, I'm just gonna just post kicking content. It's on TikTok.
Love
Every
it.
it's just doing it. I'm like he's going to retirement. Like, what's Johnny doing? And when walking through the process, but doing wild stuff. Like you'll stand on like a basketball court. It's like this is what I used to do to get my accuracy, and boom, slots the ball in, like boom, like 3-pointer. Like I'm like, okay, nice. And he's like, so what I do is he turn around and goes bang, kicks the ball into like into the net. Then he's like, I've got this drill on the side of like basically on the side of the pitch, and he's like just like knocking this ball. I'm like, the
Mm,
only frustrating thing, like, he doesn't do the old stance anymore. So like it's like we gain a
mm.
lot from it's great watching Jordan Wilson do his kicking stuff, but like with no pose, it's great, but at what cost? But no, it's the most incredible thing. I've gone on like many a deep dives, and he's just like him talking about what he did as a career. Like it's his new favorite thing now. He's just going out there, capturing his training processes. Like it's like peak. Like most guys play golf. He's just like, I'm just gonna kick on the field for 3 hours. Like to kill.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love it. Like sometimes you need to be in those like deep sort of places on social media and just watching like niche um content like that. So I love it for him. Um yeah, I don't know if like he's also like like it's like those sort of guys that like are really into trains. I think that's what
Yeah,
Johnny Wilkinson is with kicking. So you will get the most detailed look at like what kicking is. Like if you have a 4-year-old child that you want to be a fly half, like just put those videos in front of them. Like
yeah.
they'll become a world class 10 like in 10 years time essentially. So I love that. Um, Also, maybe just before we end, congratulations to Rassie Erasmus for getting the Order of Nkamanga. Like that's pretty much one, I think the biggest national honor that can be given to a civilian. So, Rassie, I mean, look, Rassie 2029 is still possible from a political front, less so than a rugby front. So, if he wants to run, he might have some support. But yeah, like that's a big congratulations to him.
What you know, 7-2, was it 6-2 split in the country? Like, is it gonna go here?
Minister 6-2 split. No, but yeah, so that's some good news there. But Cook, let's end it off there. Thank you so much for listening to this Rugby Bits podcast. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, maybe we'll if teams come out later in the week, we might do a more in-depth preview on the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup stuff. But yeah, big rugby weekend, obviously, with that happening. Also, congratulations to Red Roses. We would have mentioned it more if France beat them, but yeah, Red Roses just continue just being unbeatable in the Women's Six Nations. They win, I think it's the eighth Six Nations in a row, which is ridiculous. But anyway, all there's all the social media that you need to go to follow us on our X channel if you want to see what the rugby news is. And please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on Apple, on Spotify, and on YouTube as well. And we will see you again next week. Bye bye, everyone.
Yes, everyone.